get into the big stories of the week now with Liberal MP Keith Wolahan and former Coalition advisor, now consultant, Sophia Lee. Welcome to you both. Keith, what are you hoping to see from Labor's budget on Tuesday?
Thank you for having me, Amanda. I'm more than anything, I'm looking for real relief for families, and particularly families who are paying off the mortgage and were devastated at that last increase. So if there's some relief for them, that will be a tick in my books.
Fair enough. Sophia, Jim Chalmers is saying that there will be cost of living relief in the budget. Here he was on Friday.
Well, Katie and I have said repeatedly that you should anticipate a substantial improvement in the near term in the budget, and then the pressures that we've been talking about intensify after that.
Sophia, can Labor just give out cash handouts in the short term, not deal with inflation, but expect the problem to go away?
Well, Amanda, that's a really good question, because now many of your viewers know that the millennial generation is now the biggest generation in Australia. Now, for millennials, research has shown that the millennial voters has a real consistent sense that the economy is stacked against them. Now, the key to that, of course, is the housing affordability. And many millennials feel that their income rich, but their assets poor. So what we really want to say in the budget is a tax measures that ensures that wage increase. If Jim Chalmers is right with his predictions, I still have many doubts on whether he's right in that the wage increase will be real wage increase will be 0.75%. Now, I still have doubts, but for the sake of the country, I wish he's right. And if he's right, we do need tax measures in the budget to ensure those wage increases goes to the pocket of the Australians, especially the millennials, instead of going back to the as a tax and as a government income.
Yeah, good point. Keith, one of the key ways Jim Chalmers wants to pay for his budget is through taxing oil and gas companies more. But just how damaging is this approach, both for government revenues and for inflation and the affordability of energy?
Well, the short answer is that we don't know, Amanda. This was a very recent announcement, and any changes to complex tax arrangements, particularly for resource companies, might have unintended consequences. So we need to look at the detail. There was reform announced by the previous government about this area where liabilities were offset into some future time. So it's certainly an area that we can look at, but we'll look at the detail and see if this is actually going to lead to the revenue they're expecting, because we know that these companies hire the best tax lawyers in the country, so claims about what sort of revenue are coming in are often not eventuated. So we should look to that detail.
Yeah, that's a fair scepticism. Keith, I can't have you on the show and not ask you about how things are going on the Voice to Parliament Bill Committee. Now, you've been sitting on submissions and you've been hearing from people like Tony Abbott, Warren Mundine, Noel Pearson. What were your big takeaways from the committee hearing so far?
That's right, Amanda. So we had 5 days of hearing. We started in Canberra, went around the country and then finished in Canberra. I wish we'd had more than 5 days. This is such a serious piece of reform. It warrants more scrutiny, particularly days 1 and 5 were where we heard from the legal experts. And my conclusion and takeaway from the submissions and the oral hearings is that there is constitutional risk. Now, there's differing views about whether that risk is low or higher. You had the Solicitor General and others say, well, look, there's not much to worry about here. But you had others like former Justice Callanan, many academics and other former justices that said it is higher than we would like. And I think when it comes to the Constitution, we should be risk averse because, as you know, Amanda, law is an art. It's not a science. So no one can put their hand on the heart and say, I know what a future High Court will do. And no one does. A future High Court will make that decision. And I think we should be risk averse when it comes to amending our Constitution.
Sophia, isn't it a dangerous thing to be rushing through the committee consultation for something as important as a change to our democratic institutions and our Constitution?
I do think so, Amanda. From what my understanding and the information I gathered is that there are information that's being submitted to the parliamentary inquiry about many public figures that really have real fear of expressing their concerns on The Voice just because they're worried about the consequences of their voicing their concerns. Now, there will be no proper debate on that issue if people are too scared to debate. And if there's no proper debate, the Australians are denied the opportunity to understand fully what's the consequences and what it means to cast their vote on the Constitution. So to me, there's no, if we're not giving the timing, if we are not giving the information, we shouldn't rush it.
Well, we've got an example from California about how activists are demanding $200 million per person to be paid out from the government to every black resident as the state weighs up what its reparations platform will be. I mean, this is another take on the idea of treaty and reparations. Very, very quickly, is this a path you want to see us go down, Sophia?
Well, no, not at all, Amanda, because I think that's just another approach to actually divide the people instead of uniting them. Because, with the quick number I did, I've realised the activists are now demanding the state of California, to pay twice of the GDP of the USA to black residents in California to reconcile history. Now, if anybody starting to talk about the possibilities of the financial difficulties in doing so, they might be accused of racism. So in that environment, it is not uniting the people, but to divide them.
Well, Sophia and Keith, thank you so much for your contributions. I really appreciate your time.